Have you ever felt like your success, your weight loss, your healthier life, your fitness was inevitable? Or have you ever felt that it was impossible? Most people will feel like the second. How many times have you tried and failed or, not yet succeeded? I know when I started my journey that losing my weight, getting to a healthy weight range seemed absolutely impossible. It seemed like it was unimaginable. I've never been that weight except maybe once on the way up. So this week, I wanted to share with you some training that I did. Now, this is taken from inside my Live More Life method, inside my group coaching program, where I do weekly Q&A and training calls. I was teaching my students about how to create a belief plan to take them from what felt impossible, moving it to possible, before ultimately making it inevitable. And I really do believe that no matter where you're at, if you're struggling with your weight loss, if you're frustrated at all, if you've tried all the diets, you've tried everything and it's not working, don't allow yourself to stay in it's impossible, it's too hard, I can't do it. If I can do it, you absolutely can. And we're coming up now on 13 years that I've maintained my 50-kilo weight loss. And for the last 12 of those years, I've been helping support other people to make changes too. And one other little programming note today as well. Because this was recorded with a live class, in order to maintain confidentiality for my clients, you will actually see my head popping up a little bit today. So you will see maybe some awkward cuts and my face appearing just a number of times throughout the video today. And that is just to maintain confidentiality for my existing clients. So I hope you'll forgive that. As I said, this was a live Q&A call and a training call that I taught. We've extracted it for today's video. So check out the video. Let me know what you think. Let's develop your belief plan for going from impossible to possible to inevitable. I really do believe that we can not only get to goal, but we can stay there. The secret is to make a healthy life we can live with. So we get to live more of the life we love. All right, enjoy the video. I'll see you after. There are 3 stages that we tend to go through when we're changing our lives, changing our mindset, when we're reaching towards our goals. Very often, when we first start this journey, when we first, wherever we're at, when we begin, the universality is we know something's not working and that we probably don't know how to fix it, or we know what to do but don't know how to actually make it happen. That's where everybody starts in this journey. So the 3 stages are impossibility. Right? When we first start out, it seems impossible that it could be different than it is, or it feels impossible that we could actually achieve our goals, whatever they are. And the first thing to notice about this is that it's normal. Whenever we can't do something or we haven't done something, our brain, of course, likes to look to the past, right? Our brain is really obsessed with the past. And that's because it likes to be efficient. It's a part of a safety mechanism that's been built in, if you like, throughout our prehistory. It's about paying attention to danger. So our brain really loves to look back into the past for evidence so that we can believe, right? If we go right back to our prehistory days and we go looking at, oh, I ate that berry, that was really nice, it tasted really great, I had great energy, your brain will go, oh, okay, remember where that berry is, that's important, we might need to remember. So if it's amazing. Also, if it was on the other end of the spectrum, that particular berry made us sick, and then we didn't die, then our brain goes, ooh, wait, notice that berry? Don't eat that berry. Any other berries that look like that one? We're going to remember. So we're not going to go near that one again. And so we start out looking for fear, this idea of being afraid, paying attention to what's not working, paying attention to what's negative or feels bad, is part of our brain's survival instinct, if you like. Part of the really primitive structures in our brain like to focus on fear. And from that point, when we're trying to achieve something new, something that's by definition going to be outside of our comfort zone, and something we haven't done yet, our brain will immediately go, like it does when it comes to any novel or new situation in life, it goes, oh, have I encountered something like this before? Let me go look at my history. Let's go look at the past. Let's look at my memories and see if there's anything that I've done before. Because I'm alive now, so whatever we did in the past must have worked. That's the focus that our brain loves to do. So it gets really obsessed with looking for evidence in the past. Whenever it's not doing that, it's really obsessed about your survival in the moment, which is where we get our primitive motivators from, where so many of us end up overeating or overdrinking or procrastinating because our brain's looking for immediate gratification. It's looking for that immediate piece of pleasure, right? The three motivators are seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. Conserve energy means do what you've always done, which is why it's past focused. It's why it looks back and go, oh, have I done this before? I don't have to make new connections. I don't have to come up with novel solutions. I don't have to be innovative. I don't have to, grow those new neurons. And I don't have to figure it out. I can just do what I've always done. And of course, for those of us with habits that aren't helping in our journey, that's how they develop. Now, having habits is really powerful. It's really useful. It's one of the mainstays of how we've been able to come so far in our evolution. Because once we start to automate things like language and communication, we start to automate being able to walk, we start to automate, dressing ourselves, working as a team, all these sorts of things, then we can achieve more. Just imagine how your day would be if every day you had to go, okay, how do I move my muscles again? What do I have to do to get myself out of bed? What are the steps to brushing my teeth? And we had to relearn it again every day. We'd barely get anything done. But because we can automate systems, any system we repeat, our brain, and that keeps us alive, basically, our brain goes, oh, okay, that's good. I'll keep note of that one. And if we're in a similar situation, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. And as soon as you start repeating, after a little while, your brain goes, oh, okay, this is the pattern. We always do these things in response to these triggers, and it locks it in. And then it becomes our automatic default habits. Perfect for learning how to write. Perfect for dressing ourselves. Perfect for, getting to work. Perfect for driving a car. Not always perfect for managing our health and well-being. Because often we'll have chosen things in the past that gave us the immediate sense of gratification, right? Particularly when we're trying to solve emotional issues. We're trying to provide stimulation to solve boredom. We're providing ourselves with a distraction from something uncomfortable or unpleasant that we don't want to experience. Or we're providing ourselves medication. We're trying to have a feel-good moment in order to fix feeling bad. And so we go to those things in the past that have given us pleasure. And because of the primitive wiring I've already talked about, foods that were traditionally or historically high in sugar or high in fat were ones that our brain gets a larger pleasure response from, and salt's the other one, salt, sugars, and fats, gets a pleasure response from. Now it does that because when food was scarce, when we were in times of famine, when winter came every year, then it became very important when food was scarce to know where the really high kilojoule, the high energy density foods were. So we would go for, if there's not very much food, let me get the ones with as many kilojoules as possible, the sugars, the fats, so that I can store. And because we don't live in a society where food is scarce, where most of us, thankfully, do not have to be in a famine state, ever, or at least very, very rarely, then we still have the wiring that says, go find the high fat, high sugar, the really intensely pleasurable things. And so we tend to go to those things from our primitive wiring instead of our new wiring. And so sometimes when we're first starting out, we've got these behaviors in place that it might feel impossible to change. It feels like it's all too much, I can't do it, it's too hard, I've tried before and I failed. Remember, our brain's always looking for evidence of what we can do in our past. I really want you to think about this concept. If our brains are obsessed with the past or with immediate gratification, immediate pleasure in the present, neither of those places are where our goals live. Our goals live in the future. And sometimes when we're doing something new, something we haven't done in the past, believing a new thought for many of us, I know lots of you are struggling with ideas of, I want to believe this thing, I don't yet believe it. It feels impossible that I could. That's okay. That's normal. That just means that's just where you're at the moment. You're just at a place where you're at stage one, it feels impossible. It feels like it can't be different from the way it is. Nothing's going wrong there. Remember that our thoughts are creating our reality, always. And when it feels impossible, it just means that we're looking at a certain reality. We've created a certain reality. And again, our brain's doing that because it's looking for evidence in the past. But past behavior is only evidence of past thinking. Because thoughts create feelings, feelings drive actions, and actions produce results. It's always true. So the shift is that we have to consciously shift our focus from where we've been, from what's happened in the past. Now, it's important to understand it and to be aware of what our habits are and what our triggers are and what our default reactions are. But when it comes to our goals, we need to be looking at where we are going. What do we want to create? Because as always, it's our thoughts in the moment now that turn into the feelings, the actions that we produce, that we do to create the results tomorrow. So if it's something new, we may not have evidence for it yet. So when we first start out, we just have to stay practicing belief. And I'm going to write this up in red. So often here we have to create a belief plan. So a belief plan is, here are the things that I want to believe. And I want you to think about just for a moment, or maybe answer, how do we get to believing something is true? Everything we currently believe is a thought we once had that we decided was important or meaningful or just straight out true. And so we've kept the thought and we've repeated it again, probably in response to the same triggers, and again and again and again. And so a thought repeated becomes a habit, habit repeated becomes a belief, beliefs repeated become our truth, truth repeated becomes our identity. But at every stage, it really is just a thought we have thought repeatedly. So a belief plan is a set of thoughts that we want to repeat, we want to choose to think intentionally, deliberately, on purpose, right? Even when our gut instinct, our response, our feeling of that is like, it doesn't feel true for me yet. That's okay. Nothing has to be wrong about that. I'm just going to choose to think it, and I'm going to choose to believe it. I'm just going to choose to repeat it because I want it to be true. So, step one is choose intentional thoughts. It's why we want to go to those intentional models. So we can look at the thought and go, what kind of feeling does this arise in me, even when I'm just pretending it's possible. I'm pretending to believe. Let me just go, if I really did believe that, how would I feel? Then we get the feeling, and we go from that action. From that feeling, does that drive the action that I want to be taking? Right? So we check, does this thought give me a feeling that leads me, or might, sometimes we don't know, sometimes we just have to experiment. Very often with intentional things, we have to put our lab coats on and our safety glasses. We have to try out 1, 2, 5, 50, 100 different thoughts and see how they feel for us. See which ones start to generate the feelings we want. So intentional thoughts, we're going to check the feeling. You want to connect to the feeling. Right? Which makes them different from an affirmation. Sometimes with an affirmation, it ends up just being rote words, but because we don't connect to a feeling with them, once you think about that, for most of us, rote learning is things like, for me, I'm thinking what immediately comes to mind is our times tables. So think about your times table and think about saying any of the thoughts from the times tables, right? 4 4s are 16. Okay, what's your emotional response? Probably nothing, but with no connection to a feeling. Now, this is the danger in affirmations and mantras, just saying it again and again. Now, part of me does say that language programs our brain. So the more things we say something out loud, the more times we hear it, the more likely we are to have thoughts about it and feelings that we can connect to. But if you want to create a new belief, you want to shift from impossible to possible, we have to actually find a thought that we can connect a feeling to. I can't remember who it was now. I saw some research recently that kind of not contradicted, but added to, if you like, the idea that it is repetition that creates habit. Now, I still believe that, and all the evidence is that repetition does create habit. But what creates really powerful habits more quickly is emotion. We tie habits with feelings, right? Actions with feelings, we tie much more likely, which is interesting why so many of the unhealthy habits are the ones that come with strong emotional feelings, one way or the other. Most people don't end up, if we think about emotional eating, most people don't end up eating the really low intensity emotions. We don't end up eating interest or carefree or, right? We tend to be eating in response to the powerful ones: anger, shame, embarrassment, frustration, fear, anxiety. And all the really strong ones: celebration, elation, things like that. It's the powerful emotion. So the stronger the emotion, the more likely we are to be able to tie it to a habit. So trying to connect to emotion. And 3, the third part of the belief plan is we actually have to take action from that emotion. So we think the thought, we connect to a feeling, and any emotion will do, but the stronger will be more powerfully bound, and take action from that feeling. And here's the beautiful thing. When we commit to taking action, connected to the feeling from the thought that we're choosing to think on purpose, even if we don't believe it yet, we're just choosing, I'm just going to be in the space where I pretend to believe it. I'm connected to it emotionally. I'm going to take action from it. When we are committed to this belief plan, it's interesting, our commitment grows. As you trust in the process, as you follow through, you'll notice that the connection in the repetition, in the doing it again, in the taking action, grows stronger because you start to generate evidence. Now, maybe when we're first trying something, we'll try a thought, we'll get it to a feeling, and we'll take action, and we're like, oh, that didn't quite produce what I thought it would have. but now we have evidence. And our brain goes, oh, okay, that wasn't quite right. How do I tweak it slightly? How do I adjust it, right? Notice we get a result, then we get to make an adjustment to it. And then we've started to build belief. What's happened is that didn't work, but our brain starts to look for solutions and be like, oh, it starts to go from impossible to possible, which is the second stage of belief. We always start at impossible. We commit to our belief plan and we follow through on our intentional thoughts, connected feelings, taking action. Our brain starts to go, oh, it might be possible, even if I don't have it yet, because I'm generating some evidence. Even if the evidence is that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. Okay, well, what else could I do? What might work? How could I adjust that? Do I just need more repetition? Right? More practice? Is it a skill set problem? Because we develop all of our skills with practice, doing it again and again. So it's a skill set problem. Or do I need to adjust the thinking? Is it a mindset problem? Do I need to change the belief that the one I tried on wasn't quite right? I just need to adjust it a little bit. But notice that as soon as we're doing that, into that thinking that like, I've tried something, I got a result, and now I've got evidence, it reminds us that we are capable of producing results. That in fact, we are always producing results. So we get step back into our power. Our commitment grows as we stay in action. And it starts to become possible. So our brain starts to go, that didn't work, something else might work. It is actually possible that I could create something because I created this, even if it wasn't what I wanted. What I love about that is once we're in possible and we continue to commit to our belief plan and we practice it enough, that belief plan starts to become our truth. Right? We really step in to believe it. Like instead of thinking it's totally impossible, we're not really believing it at all, we start to believe it just a little bit. 1%, 4%, 5%. Still seems far off and unlikely and oh my God, I might never get there, but it's a little bit possible. As we go on, that percentage starts to increase. You start to go, maybe I could do this. And as we stay in that place, we keep going, we keep holding on to the belief. As we start creating the evidence, we eventually end up in inevitable. Now, this happened for me with my weight loss journey. I remember this process so clearly. When I first started, my aim was to spend 2 years losing 20 kilos. That was what I went, okay, that's possible, that's doable. I can commit myself to a process for that. And then I signed up to my weight loss program. I walked into WW the very first time. And they said, you have to lose 34 kilos to get to goal. And I just about had a heart attack on the spot because I was in total impossibility. What? That's ridiculous. I could never lose that amount. Absolutely, like I've never been that weight, except maybe once on the way up. It was absolutely impossible. Fortunately, my coach said to me at the time, don't worry about that. Let's lose 1 kilo. Let's take one step on the path. And so we found something that I could believe in that did feel possible, right? So instead of I can lose, at that point, 34 kilos, I chose the intention, I can do what it takes to lose 1 kilo. That was my belief, right? I did not believe that I could lose 34 kilos, but I did believe that I could do what was required to lose 1 kilo. I mean, again, my brain looked for evidence from the past and said, yeah, you can lose 1 kilo. You've lost, some weight before and put it all back on and off and on and off and on many times. Yeah, you can lose 1 kilo, of course you can. All right, well, I believe that already. Okay, so I'm going to use it. That felt possible, felt capable of that. And then I took action. So what do I need to do was my next question. Well, what do I need to do that? She suggested some things. I did those things, and then I lost 1.1 kilos in the first week, something like that. I went, I got evidence that I can lose weight.
Losing 34 kilos is just losing 1 kilo 34 times. Because it's not quite the same. Sometimes we say that and then we mean we've lost it and then gained it and lost it and then gained it at the same time. No, no, no. Just losing 34 kilos, 1 kilo consecutively. Now, it turns out that's not realistic. And I learned that as I keep going, oh, I could do that again. I could do that again. And then I learned that actually healthy weight loss is about half a kilo per week on average. And then sometimes there's fluid involvement. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. But in all cases, though, I've started to choose the belief that I can take the actions that result in weight loss. The idea being, of course, we need to check. When I set my intentions, when I check my belief here, am I focusing on my past or am I focusing on my future? As I said before, when we're trying to create something we've never created before, our brain will look to the evidence and go, no, you haven't never done it before. Why be able to do it this time? That's a terrible idea. Let's not do it. It wants to do that to get you out of disappointment in the future, right? Which brings us to the idea of how often our brain goes towards the catastrophic future. Often when we're imagining the future, we get into one of two states. Last week, we talked a little bit about last week? Either last week or the week before. We talked a little bit about getting into hope, right? Oh, everything's going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful. I'm going to feel so good. I'll be proud of myself then. I'll like myself then, etc. Things will be better then. And then we stay in hope, and it's an imagined future. But hope, right, is a feeling that does not drive action. It keeps us stuck. So as we talked about last time, hope is not a particularly useful emotion there. What we want is committed, certain, capable, determined, willing. These sorts of emotions, much more powerful because they drive action. So when we're making our belief plan and we're looking for our intentional thoughts, it can be helpful to check in and go, well, am I generating those sorts of emotions? I'm willing to do what it takes. I'm determined to keep going no matter what. I'm certain that I can do a piece of it. So I believed I could take action that produced weight loss. And so what happened is I stayed in that belief and kept practicing it, and it started to become possible for me. And in fact, in 6 months, I had lost. I think I lost 33 kilos in the first 6 months. And as I was going, as I lost the first 5, I lost the first 10%, I lost the first 10 kilos, I got into double digits. Each little milestone went, oh, maybe I can keep doing more. And I never went too far ahead. I just went into a little bit into the future, right? I can get to the next 5 kilos, the next 5%, the next round number, whatever it was. If I keep taking action connected to the feeling of certainty was the one I used. I'm certain. I also was willing to experiment, to try, to find out what works for me and what doesn't. As I kept taking action, it became very possible. Oh, maybe I can, right? I'd lost the 20 kilos that I'd originally planned to lose. I went, oh, maybe I could go a little bit further. That was my thought at that point. Not maybe I could go all the way. Maybe I could go a little bit further. Maybe I could do a little bit more. Maybe I could do it again. And I just allowed the possibility at that point. As I kept staying in that, eventually I came to the point where, oh, I know how to lose weight. I can do it. I know how to make changes that I can live with. So I'm just going to keep doing those things. These things result in weight loss, right? So as I stayed in the possibility and kept taking action from that certainty, success became inevitable. Now, everyone here already knows, I didn't just lose 34 kilos because I lost that. And then we measured my height and then went, oh, I actually got to lose a few more. You're shorter than you thought you were. Went on, I went, I still got this last little roll I want to get rid of. And so I went, I'll just go a little bit further, just go a little bit further until ultimately I came to my ideal weight. So as you all know, I lost 50 kilos. We're coming up in a couple of weeks to my 14-year anniversary. It's amazing. Looking back, even at the end, it still kind of felt like it was impossible. Because every step along the way became possible. And I stayed in that, my success was inevitable because I stayed in, committed, determined, willing, capable. You don't have to believe it all. You just have to believe a piece, find that piece, and practice it until it becomes a belief, if you like. That's how we create a belief we don't have yet. We just practice it from the energy. So just to recap for everyone, we choose an intentional thought, connect to a feeling. We make sure that it actually connects us to a feeling, an emotion. And the stronger, if you like, the more intense that emotion, often the better for creating a long-lasting result. But any emotion will do. You check that that action, that feeling, that emotion drives action. If it's not a feeling that drives action, it's not a useful feeling for achieving our goals. We create a belief plan and we start to train in our brain to believe. Beliefs, thought, repeated. Okay. But they need to be connected. You need to take action.
So can you create your belief plan to go from wherever you're at now? Can you find a thought that maybe is just the first step, the first piece of a habit, one behavior, one choice you can make that is aligned with living a healthy life? Can you choose just one of those that you really can believe? Can you connect to the energy there of feeling capable, committed, willing, determined? And can you take action on that belief? Do that again and again and again, and your success becomes inevitable. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear what you think. So let me know in the comments, what feels impossible for you, or what impossible goal would you like to start building a belief plan for? Of course, if you want even more help, you want my personal support, you want to join in the group so you get the weekly trainings, you get your one-on-one calls, you get our network of success, you get my personal support to personalize the plan, to discover what's challenging you, what's stopping you, and help you turn it around in a way you can live with. If you want all that, head to livemorelife.com.au and book a consultation. Let's spend some time together. I'll give you help. I'll hear what's going on for you. I'll let you know what I think. We'll give you some hints and tips and ideas, maybe set out a path that can move you forward. And if you want, we can talk about what it'd be like to work together. Whether you choose that or not, whether you choose to work together with me or not, you'll at least have those ideas and a plan that you can walk away with, so you know what your next steps are. You know what is the key piece to work on. And if you'd like to work together, I'd love to help you succeed. So you get my support, encouragement to handle all of the challenges, all of the disruption, all of the old habits coming back that happen along the way in a real life, in a real weight loss journey. Let's help you solve the real issues while you're overeating in the first place and come up with new healthy solutions that you can keep. So head to livemorelife.com.au and book a consultation. If you're right to do it on your own, take the advice from this video, make it a belief plan, and start to take action. Once that one has become certain, once it's achieved, that first habit, that first behavior, that first change, pick the next one, and the next one, and the next one. The success really can be inevitable. Give me a like, give me a heart if this has been useful for you. Give me a reaction. If you're watching on YouTube or on my video blog, make sure you subscribe so you get notified of all the new videos. And if you know someone who could hear this message today, who would be benefited by this information, please share the link or tag them in the comments. Have an amazing day. Go and make your success inevitable. Thanks for watching.